Hey guys, what's going on? We're here with week 2 of April's reviews. So like I said in the last video, going to be doing the review videos weekly for the unforeseeable future because I don't have work and I'm watching a lot more movies. I'm averaging like 2 per day. So let's dive right in. The first thing, Tusk. Ooh. So I remember not really enjoying this the first time I saw it. I do own it, however, because I am a Kevin Smith purist. I love Kevin Smith. I support Kevin Smith as a filmmaker. My buddy Joe Martinez was able to get this for me and hook me up with it for a really good price. And my girlfriend had never seen it, so we checked it out. Like I said, wasn't a huge fan of this the first time I saw it. And the movie starts out well. I wanted to go in with an open mind on a rewatch. I did that, fixing my microphone. So I start out the movie, I remember like, oh yeah, it starts out really witty. Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment are podcasters, very Kevin Smithy. It's very dialogue forward. He's getting ready to go visit this kid who suffered an unfortunate accident and went viral. However, the kid ends up not being available for an interview. We'll leave it at that. He goes and meets this really eccentric gentleman, very, very dialogue heavy, and then the movie just takes a turn. It gets incredibly weird. Now, the problem is that a lot of the dialogue that occurs and then the twist is it's not clever or entertaining, in my opinion. The movie's just very bizarre, and I want to say that every character in this film is unlikable or just a despicable, terrible person. And I'll leave it at that. So yeah, Tusk, can't recommend it. 1 out of 5. It will make the shelf only because, like I said, Kevin Smith purist. The next thing we had watched Borat fairly recently, so I wanted to watch Bruno. Bridget had never seen Bruno. I had seen it in movies, and that was the last time I saw it. So the movie has bits and pieces in it that I think are funny, that work, that are definitely very cringeworthy, very cringe, as kids say nowadays. But the humor isn't as good in this film as Borat. And it's not something I need to revisit. Like, Bridget's glad she saw it. She thought it was funnier than she expected. I give it a 2 out of 5. It's not making my shelf. I'm not going to keep this. I can see myself rewatching Borat. I'm not going to rewatch this anytime soon. Speaking of not rewatching something, The Lion King, the 2019 CGI, live action, whatever you guys want to refer to it as, film. The movie that made a boatload of money worldwide, like $1.5 billion, $1.6 billion. That if you guys wanted to see this movie with heart and entertaining characters and songs that had feeling behind them, you should watch the original from 1994, because this movie was a cash grab by Disney. This movie should be ashamed of itself. It was very heartless. It took out humor and parts of the original that were great. It added an extra 30 minutes of runtime for no reason at all, because it's a rehash of the original film. And the only saving grace in this movie takes place about 55 minutes in, and that's when you meet Pumbaa and Timon, voiced by Billy Eichner, Seth Rogen. They're hilarious in the film. That's all I can say. I can't even really defend Donald Glover in this movie because he doesn't add anything to the role. Beyonce is so full of herself that she added a song to this movie that wasn't very good. The movie just felt unnecessary. Stop making live action movies, Disney. Make original stuff like Onward. It was fantastic. This does not need to be made. This is ridiculous. I want to curse so bad right now. 2.5 out of 5. Getting rid of it. I'm tired of supporting Disney if they're going to keep putting out live action mediocre garbage. Sorry. I will say the animation looked phenomenal in it. The CGI animation was great in The Lion King. I didn't hate the movie. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I just don't make original films. Please. Speaking of original film, Silver Linings Playbook, Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, fantastic film. Probably a bit biased in this movie. It takes place in the Delaware County, Philadelphia area. Love all the performances in this movie, from the leads to De Niro and Jackie Weaver. Chris Tucker's in the movie. Like I said, the movie takes place in Philly. It's about Philadelphia Eagles fans. A Philadelphia Eagles fan who's superstitious. Robert De Niro, Bradley Cooper's dad. But Jennifer Lawrence really steals the film. She's fantastic in the movie. So is Bradley Cooper, but Jennifer Lawrence really steals it for me. And just like an excellent film. Bradley Cooper plays an excellent bipolar character person. And the movie is real. It's funny. It is sad. It's just a fun watch. 4.5 out of 5. Love Silver Linings Playbook. Hopefully, talk to Crazy Joe. Once everything gets back to normal, him and I are going to do maybe like a filming location video from this movie, which I'd love to do because I love the movie. Hopefully we can go to Eagles Stadium. That would be fun. So the next thing we watched was on Amazon Prime, and it was called Haunters, the Art of the Scare. I'm sorry. It's a documentary about haunted houses, but it focuses primarily on what is known as extreme haunted houses and house-based haunted houses. So people who basically build haunted houses attached to their house, in front of their house, next to their house. When it dives into the extreme haunted houses, it focuses on two primarily, one primarily, but it mentions Blackout haunted houses and then McKamey Manor. And then you meet Russ McKamey, and the movie becomes insane. It becomes a very uncomfortable watch. If you don't know what extreme haunted houses are, Google it a little bit. If you don't know what McKamey Manor is, Google it. It actually was in the press last year because they started a new haunted house that lasts like 12 hours where you can win $10,000 if you complete it, but they have the ability to remove teeth. They have, like, they can waterboard you, just like over the top, ridiculous. They can give you tattoos. You're not allowed to curse. You have to obey everything they tell you to do. Just really sick. And when you watch this movie and meet Russ McKamey, the dude is messed up. His wife is messed up. They have real issues. Just a terrible person. The footage in the film, and it's not even that bad. The footage in the movie is very unsettling. I don't like haunted houses personally. I don't like jump scares, and especially in person. I don't care for jump scares. I've done a haunted house one time. It was down at Eastern State Penitentiary called The Terror Behind the Walls. I'll never go to a haunted house again. Just not for me. No interest. Yeah, when you read about the film or read about the haunted houses, look at the kind of people that Russ McKamey hires for this haunted house. It's really sick. I couldn't stop watching the movie. The movie was like, it was good, but like I said, the footage is just unsettling for me. Check it out if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of haunted houses, if you're curious. But it's a pretty extreme watch. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely won't rewatch it, but glad I did. The next thing I watched was, I was told by my buddy Joe Martinez, I need to watch this. I bought it to flip, but he said, before you flip it, watch it. And that is My Bodyguard, starring Chris Makepeace, who I didn't realize was Rudy Rabbit from Meatballs. Meatballs is one of my favorite movies from when I was younger. It's still a great movie with Bill Murray. Also features Matt Dillon. And so, like I said, I freaked out when I realized that Chris Makepeace was in the film. And the movie's pretty formulaic, in my opinion. It's very after-school special combined with high school bully movie, but watered down. It's a PG movie. Chris Makepeace lives in a hotel. His dad's the manager there, and he lives with his grandmom. They mention the grandmom a lot. She's in a lot of the movie, but doesn't really add to the film, in my opinion. So I had never seen this or heard of it. It came out in 1980. And but I had to laugh at the conclusion of the film because it is definitely not something that would fly in a movie that was put out today, although it's 40 years later. But did I love it? No. It's a Kino release. Like I said, I'm flipping this. It's not making the shelf. I give it a 2 out of 5. I can see if you grew up with this movie how you'd enjoy it. But it's just not something that, you know, I found incredibly rewatchable. I'm glad I sat there and watched it. The other thing was the movie's like 98 minutes, 99 minutes, and it dragged for me. So My Bodyguard, 2 out of 5. I'm glad I watched it, but like I said, not something I need to revisit anytime soon. The next thing I watched, but I haven't technically shown it yet. So it was The Wizard on Blu-ray. My buddy Joe Martinez, once again, hooked me up. He said, The Wizard is on sale on Shout. Order it. I'm sending you money. Thank you for everything you do. I was dumbfounded. I offered to send his money back. He said, no, it's on me. So I got the Shout Factory, Shout Select release of The Wizard. The transfer on it is beautiful. The reason I never bought The Wizard from Universal is the rating on the transfer was horrible. They said it looked terrible. It was like a 1 out of 5 or 1.5 out of 5 video quality. The Shout Factory release looked awesome. And I was showing it to Bridget and RJ for the first time. They had never seen it. And it's a movie, it's probably one of the first movies I saw in theaters, so it holds a special place in my heart as one of my first theatrical experiences. The movie can be seen as an advertisement for Nintendo or Universal Studios Hollywood, but once you get past that, the story that takes place, the family drama / comedy to an extent, is very good. The story between Fred Savage and Luke Edwards, brothers, is very interesting. What happened in the past to their sister gives the movie a lot of heart. And it's a movie that holds up really well for me. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. The Shout Factory has a ton of bonus features. We were watching deleted scenes, and there was a lot of backstory that would have been in the first quarter of the film that they cut out, because if they left a lot of it in, the movie would have been 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it didn't need to be. But if you watch those scenes, stuff that happens in the film makes sense a little more. Haven't even dove into his second disc, which has a bunch more bonus features. Like I said, The Wizard for me, I give it 3.5 out of 5. Definitely recommend it. Definitely wish I had done the unboxing to show you guys the copy, because the slipcover is awesome and there's reversible artwork on the inside, so I've already done that. You guys will see in an upcoming video. After that, we dove into 2 franchises, both of which RJ was pretty excited to see. This one he was really excited to see, and that is the Dark Knight trilogy, starting with Batman Begins, a movie that I had only watched once prior to this viewing, and a movie that I had trouble getting through that first viewing. I remember falling asleep multiple times, having to rewind and find where I fell asleep, and just a movie I wasn't a big fan of the first watch. This time around, I was very curious to revisit it, and the first 45 minutes of this film, I'm just not a fan of. I don't like the backstory with Liam Neeson's character and what happens with Bruce Wayne. I struggled to get through that first 45 minutes, but after that happens, and I know it's important in a story, I'm not taking that away from it. I just don't care for the first 45 minutes of the movie. Once that happens and Bruce Wayne is in Gotham, I really enjoyed the last bit of the film quite a bit, the last hour and a half. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It's my least favorite of the trilogy, but it's still an enjoyable watch. The next thing we checked out was The Karate Kid from 1984. Showing this to RJ for the first time was pretty exciting, as it's, in my opinion, a quintessential 80s film. And this movie is so freaking good. Watching the first season of Cobra Kai, I'm reminded how much I love this movie. Still need to watch season 2, but this movie is so well done. The rivalry between Johnny and Daniel is just built up so well in this movie. The relationship between Mr. Miyagi and Daniel, also well done in the film. And the climax is perfect in the movie. And how great is the music in this film? 80s music at its finest. I gave Karate Kid a 4.5 out of 5. Love this movie. The next flick we checked out. Sorry, just seeing where we were. The next flick was The Dark Knight. And, oh man, one of the best comic book movies ever made. The beginning scene is awesome. The way it introduces the Joker is amazing. It doesn't let up for 2.5 hours. It grabs you. It's so well done. Heath Ledger is so good in this film. His performance is excellent. You can totally see how he got lost in the role because you get lost in his performance. But I also want to say, rewatching this, that I realized how good Aaron Eckhart was as Harvey Dent / Two-Face in the movie. And it's not a performance a lot of people talk about because of the performance by Heath Ledger as the Joker. But Aaron Eckhart is great in this film as well. Christian Bale, definitely the second best Batman after Michael Keaton and not far behind Michael Keaton. I give this a 5 out of 5. Dark Knight is a phenomenal movie. Like I said, one of the best superhero movies ever, comic book movies, Dark Knight. The next thing we checked out was The Karate Kid Part 2. And, you know, I remember really liking this flick a lot, like almost as much as the first. On this rewatch, didn't hold up to the first for me. It's definitely a good movie, I enjoyed it a lot. But there's not a lot of action in this film. It is much more like plot-driven, story-driven, and the bad guys in this movie do quite a good job of getting you to dislike them. However, you think there's like a conclusion, and then there's an extra 20 minutes because you realize, well, he never solved his issues with this character. So, not quite as entertaining as the original, but still a well-done film, a well-done story. 3.5 out of 5, Karate Kid Part 2. I'm throwing stuff, guys. The Dark Knight Rises. It's been so long since I watched this, and man, is it so stinking good. Really enjoyed The Dark Knight Rises. Think it's a fantastic film. The movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes, and in my opinion, entertaining. Doesn't let up for those 2 hours and 45 minutes. I will say the weak spot of this movie for me is Marion Cotillard's character. I'm not going to say who she plays, because if you've never seen Dark Knight Rises, which would be surprising, she's very important to this story. However, I'm just not a fan of her character. I find her character to be annoying and the only character in the movie who I'm not really invested in. Bane is a much more enjoyable character. Anne Hathaway as Catwoman is good. The whole Robin thing is take it or leave it for me, but Tom Hardy's awesome. And man, the football stadium scene in this movie still holds up. If you guys don't know how it was shot, it's really cool. It was shot using a lot of like green screen, and they had extras actually in Heinz Field. There's lots of Pittsburgh Steelers players in that scene. Yeah, man, that football stadium scene's awesome. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Not as good as The Dark Knight, but still a fantastic film. Really enjoyed it. Then the next two movies we watched were The Karate Kid Part 3 and The Next Karate Kid. This was sent to me by Mill Creek a while ago. Been waiting to revisit the first two so I can dive into these. And so Karate Kid 3 is a movie I haven't seen in a very long time. Didn't even really remember the plot premise of it. However, Terry Silver comes back. He's the villain in this movie. But also there's, what is it? What's the guy's name? No, disregard what I said. John Kreese comes back in the film. But Terry Silver is involved with this movie, who knew John Kreese. They're good friends. However, Terry Silver in this movie, the villain, is very comic book character-y. He acts very over the top. It's very weird. You know, there's parts of the movie, of part 3, that fall into this so bad it's good category. Then you have the whole love interest for Daniel, this character Jessie, played by Robin Lively. But she's not really a love interest, and she doesn't really... There's no payoff for their relationship, which is weird. Like, it felt like they just wanted a female character as a distraction for Daniel, but there's no payoff in that. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. It's watchable, but not fantastic. And then we watched The Next Karate Kid, which I haven't seen since seeing it in theaters in, 1994. And I know this movie gets a whole lot of hate and flack. However, on a rewatch, I actually probably enjoyed it a little more than Karate Kid Part 3. Hilary Swank's in the movie. She plays like an angsty teenage girl who just so happened to take karate when she was younger, which felt like a very, like, how are we going to teach her karate and fill the plot hole? And there's like 10 minutes left in the movie, and there's been no like climax, and it feels very rushed at the end. You know, there's no more Ralph Macchio in the film. It's Mr. Miyagi's last film. Well, yeah, because this is the last Karate Kid movie, but not counting the reboot. I don't count that, but you know, there's a bit of an issue I have with this movie, Next Karate Kid, with the group of villains, because what are the group of villains? Is it like an ROTC program in the school? Is it a group of just like militant people in the school? Like, it just feels very weird and out of nowhere. I don't know. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Like I said, I liked it a little more than Karate Kid Part 3. The next thing we watched was The Green Hornet. It's been a while since I'd seen this. Wanted to revisit it. Comic book movie. Showed it to RJ. I really enjoy Seth Rogen as an actor. I think he's very funny. And I actually liked him as Britt Reed in this movie. But also I will say, excuse me, I'm not really familiar with the Green Hornet's like comic book history or backstory. But I found him enjoyable in the movie. I think that Jay Chow, who plays Kato, is very good in the film. If you guys have seen this, obviously Kato is the real superhero in this movie. He's the brain, the bronze behind the operation. Green Hornet is almost like the sidekick comic relief character. Christoph Waltz plays the villain in the film, and he was a little disappointing in the movie. I think that he was almost playing himself too cartoony. Didn't have enough of like a backstory, in my opinion. But I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a funny movie. I know, once again, it gets a lot of flack for some reason. I find it to be pretty watchable. I enjoyed it. And then the last thing I don't physically have here, because it was a DVD or a Blu-ray from DVD.com, and that is What We Do in the Shadows, a movie I've been wanting to check out because I've heard really great things about the TV series, but wanted to watch the movie to see like the background of it. It stars Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords and Taika Waititi, star of Jojo Rabbit, also director of Jojo Rabbit, Thor Ragnarok. It's a movie about a house full of vampires, filmed in like documentary style. A very ridiculous comedy. It's like 85 minutes. There's a few parts in the movie where I was laughing out loud. There's a few parts where I was like, oh, okay, this is good, but not like something I love. I found the movie to be watchable. Wasn't, you know, like a huge, massive fan, but I'm intrigued to watch the show. Definitely want to see what the show is all about. I gave the movie a 3.5 out of 5. And that's it, guys, for week 2 of April reviews. Hope you're enjoying these videos. Be sure to give this a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Give me a subscription if you don't already. It would be much appreciated. Also, hit the notification bell if you guys don't mind. This way you know when new stuff drops. Leave comments down below. What have you guys been watching? What have you been checking out? And that's it, guys. So, description box down below, you can find links to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies I watch, eBay, Amazon wishlist, all that can be found down below. I appreciate you guys for watching. Until next time, who's down to movie?